Game analysis of Manchester City vs Brighton on October 21, 2023. Lineups. Both teams begin with a 4-2-3-1 setup on paper. However, in reality, this formation is not a rigid structure that remains unchanged throughout the entire match. The starting formations fundamentally change once the game kicks off. Instead, the positions vary based on the course of the game and the different phases of football. In both teams, we want to take a closer look at how the players behaved in the 4 phases of the game. Brighton sticks to the back 4. The center backs and the 2 defensive midfielders stay close together. Coach De Zerbi emphasizes the importance of players being in close proximity. This has the advantage of shorter passing distances. The ball circulates more swiftly, and typically, it's easier to execute a pass over 10 meters than one over 20 or 30 meters. The goalkeeper, Jason Steele, in this system is extremely adept with the ball at his feet and acts as an additional playmaker. Brighton's number 10 or striker often drops into the midfield to create a numerical advantage there. The 2 wingers position themselves wide along the touchline, primarily to generate space in the half spaces within the midfield. Their play is characterized by patience as they attempt to lure the opponent out of their positions. Once this happens, they exploit the vacated space. This requires precise ball control and, above all, impeccable timing. Brighton is arguably one of the best teams globally when it comes to delivering the crucial passes at the right moments. In the second area of the field, Brighton operates similarly to the first zone. They pass the ball patiently among themselves, waiting for the opponent's reaction. Unlike City, they typically have only 4 players in the forward line. Depending on their proximity to the goal, Pascal Gross or Carlos Baleba join the offensive play, forming a 5-man line in the foremost front line. This usually occurs when they are at the end of the second zone or the beginning of the third zone. On the other hand, Manchester City deploys a back 3 during their build-up play. John Stones moves into the midfield to create a sort of double pivot with Rodri. Bernardo Silva and Alvarez act as central midfielders, forming a box-shaped midfield. Bernardo Silva tends to drop slightly deeper to contribute to the build-up, while Alvarez takes a higher position. In this formation, the goalkeeper also plays a crucial role. Ortega occasionally joins the backline, essentially acting as an additional center back during the build-up. Alvarez plays a crucial role in this system, as he has the freedom to move flexibly. He can assist in the midfield during the build-up phase or move forward to attack space together with Haaland. The center back wearing the number 3, Igor, faced the challenging decision of whether to track Alvarez deep into the midfield or leave him to another player. Here, we see an example where the center back has pushed far forward. However, this can be risky as it opens up space in the defense that Haaland or the wingers could exploit. When Manchester City managed to combine their way into the second or even third zone, they often played through the left side where Jeremy Doku operates. This proved to be a weakness for Brighton, as Milner in direct duels often struggled to keep up with him. Therefore, Carlos Baleba wearing number 20 or the winger Simon Adinga with number 24 regularly provided support to double up on Doku. However, when he was doubled, space opened up for another player, and if City had space in the middle, they became extremely dangerous. For Milner, the game was challenging as he was repeatedly faced with difficult decisions. The movements of Bernardo Silva in the half spaces made it hard for Milner to decide whether to press him or focus on Jeremy Doku, who was positioned on the sideline. Manchester City executed this tactic quite cleverly, especially in the first half. Both teams act similarly when they lose possession of the ball. Their goal is to regain possession as quickly as possible and close down the spaces. Guardiola and De Zerbi have a clear idea of how they want to occupy the spaces. They even take into account the possibility of losing the ball and often position their players cleverly to regain it. The players are also aware of their individual roles, indicating a high level of tactical structure. When Brighton has the ball in Zone 1, Guardiola's players position themselves very high up the field. Haaland and Alvarez collectively press the center backs, applying pressure. Their positioning is crucial in this scenario. When the goalkeeper has the ball, they don't stand directly in front of the center backs but rather between the 2 central midfielders and the center backs. As soon as a pass is made, they press the respective center back to prevent any space from opening up in the middle. Bernardo Silva and John Stones are responsible for both of Brighton's central midfielders. Rodri stays deeper and marks the player who moves into the midfield to aid in the build-up. In total, they press with up to 7 players in the opponent's half. Bernardo Silva plays a key role here. He tries to provoke a pass by pressing the goalkeeper at the right moment and directing him in a desired direction. When Brighton manages to combine and advance into the second or third zone, you can see Guardiola instructing his team to defend in a 4-4-2 system, with Alvarez and Haaland leading the front line. This formation effectively defends the midfield because 6 players are positioned closely together, primarily in central areas. When Manchester City has the ball in Zone 1, Brighton also positions relatively high up the field, but they tend to be more cautious compared to City. This cautious approach is due to City having very strong individual players up front, who are particularly dangerous in one-on-one situations. Additionally, Bernardo Silva and Alvarez position themselves relatively high and occupy the spaces in between, meaning that a Brighton midfielder must be careful not to push too far forward. City deploys 5 players up front during their build-up, and depending on the situation, Alvarez, Haaland, or Bernardo Silva may drop back into the midfield. Carlos Baleba, number 20, faces the challenging decision of whether to engage in pressing or assist in defense based on the situation. Brighton also presses with 2 players up front who aim to position themselves between City's 2 centre-backs. This count includes the goalkeeper, as in Guardiola's system, he acts as the second centre-back alongside Akanji. Pascal Gross advances from the number 6 position further forward and attempts to mark one of City's 2 central midfielders. Brighton's 2 wide players position themselves between City's central midfielders and fullbacks, pressing City's fullback only when the ball is played. As you can see, both teams emphasize defending the midfield. For the same reasons mentioned earlier, Brighton also operates in a 4-4-2 system when Manchester City manages to progress into Zone 2 or 3. Here again, the focus is on effectively occupying and closing down the center, with an emphasis on directing play outward. Both coaches prefer deliberate and structured attacks. Often, the ball is initially secured, and the attack is then reinitiated. This doesn't mean they are against counterattacks, but the players must carefully assess whether a counterattack makes sense in their specific situation. If the opportunity arises, there's nothing wrong with it. However, if their players are not optimally positioned and the opponent is well organized, both coaches prefer to restart the attack from scratch. Did you enjoy this video? Next week, we'll dive into the game analysis of the El Clasico, Barcelona vs Real Madrid. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel or sign up for my free newsletter to keep learning something new every week that will help you become a better coach.